Hi folks, I thought I'd do another walk and talk for you today. I don't know how many of these I'll do, but it's kind of nice at the moment. I'm trying to get out, exercise my foot a little bit. Now I've been kind of cooped up with a broken foot for the last couple of months. I can walk on it okay now, but if I've still got to use the boot. I've got this boot down here. You can probably see maybe. There it is. Sorry about the sideways view. That's my moon boot. I can walk without it, but it gets a little painful after a while, so it's best to put the boot on. But it's nice to kind of show you where I live as well, show you what the area is like. This is just down the road from my house. You know, a lot of people, when they say to me, I go around the world, a lot of people say to me, you should come and live here, Max. And I always say to them, well, it's all very well, but first you should come and see where I actually do live, and then tell me why I should move. It's a pretty amazing place. But anyway, the topic of the day, folks, the normal topic that is affecting our lives so much, is the dreaded pandemic. You know, and the more I look at it, like I said the other day, the more I'm convinced that this is a hoax. I mean, even if there is some sort of a virus going around, folks, it's very easily destroyed. There's a video that's been circulating widely on Facebook, it's probably on YouTube somewhere as well, which shows how to destroy the COVID-19 virus very, very easily, like, you know, with a hairdryer in about 5 minutes. So I'll put a link below. And so much of what we're seeing is government and media propelled, folks. The food shortages that we're seeing around the place. I mean, in the United States, fair enough, you guys get a lot of stuff delivered to you from China, and Trump has stopped all of that trade, so it's understandable that the supermarket shelves are running a bit low. But here in Australia, it's completely media driven. The supermarket owners themselves are saying, we would like to be stocking the shelves every night, but we can't because of government regulations which are preventing the food trucks from bringing the food in. So they used to deliver to supermarkets 6 times a week, but the government has reduced that down to 3 times a week, which is what is creating this concept of scarcity, which, as I said, is all media and government driven.
More essentials are being added to supermarkets' restricted product lists. Woolworths now enforcing a 2-pack limit per customer on most packaged items. A 1-pack limit remains on toilet paper, baby wipes and rice. No restrictions on everything else. At Coles, fresh milk added to the 2-pack limit, joining eggs, mince and frozen goods. Still, 1 item per person on toilet paper and wipes. The same at Aldi, with rations on pasta, flour, rice and paper towels. Take a look at these crowds. Some of these lines go all the way to the back of the store. Every single register is open and it still takes around 1 hour to get out. This is the reason staff are struggling to keep up with demand. To ease pressure, there are calls to lift government restrictions that limit delivery times.
We need all of the shelves filled every single night, and the best way to do that is to allow the trucks to deliver 24/7.
Woolworths and Coles will both shut their doors at 8 p.m. tonight to give staff a fighting chance to restock.
There is no scarcity, folks. There's plenty of food in the warehouses. There's plenty of food that they could be stocking the shelves with, but they're just not doing it. Give you a bit of a view of what's going on down here, folks. Very nice, this whole area. You probably can't see too much of it yet, but when we get up a little bit further, it's quite nice. But an interesting thing that's been coming out as well, there's reports that the worst outbreaks that we're seeing in Europe of COVID-19 are in Italy. And it's been revealed that Milan was the first place they ran a whole bunch of 5G tests and switched 5G on and did the whole full spectrum thing to see what would work. And that's where we had the worst outbreak of alleged coronavirus. Interesting stuff, folks. What else did I want to mention? Look at this. This is beautiful, folks. A bit of a waterfall there. A lot of people slide down the rocks there as well. A lot of people get hurt sliding down the rocks there actually. It's a very popular spot. But Peru, I mentioned on the last report, has also closed its borders. That's very interesting because Peru is where I would have been. And the reason they've done this, folks, is because in Peru, I mean, many people believe this is some real viral outbreak. And the people in Peru, I'll just put that behind me maybe, see if you can see that. Don't know how the video will be. But the people in Peru, I mean, the South American people are used to having biological agents released on them. I mean, a lot of tribal people around the world are. For people, I mean, I'm kind of skeptical of viruses and stuff. But I mean, viruses do exist in some form. I mean, look at smallpox. This is a virus. That's what was used to devastate the American Indian populations and the Aboriginal populations of Australia, probably Canada as well. Who knows how much they did with that. But the people in Peru are very, very scared that there is a real viral outbreak happening. And understandably, they're concerned that if the virus gets into the jungle, once something like that hits the jungle, there'll be no stopping it. It'll just go rampant. It'll kill everything and everybody. So that's what happens in the jungle. You know, it's a very, very active, live environment. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of microbes floating around in the air. Any weird virus that gets in there just goes rampant when it gets into the tropics. So they've closed all of the borders in Peru. If you're a white person in Peru at the moment, if you're a gringo in Peru, you're actually confined to your quarters, whether it's a hotel or a retreat or wherever you happen to be. You're not able to leave. The only way you're able to actually leave, the only legal way you're able to leave, the only legal place you're allowed to go to is to travel either to or from a hospital or to or from a supermarket. So for people who are trapped at airports, there's many, many people that are trapped at Lima Airport, like hundreds of people stuck at the airport. They can't legally leave the airport unless they're going to either a supermarket or a hospital, going to or from a supermarket or a hospital. So they can't even go and get hotels because they're not legally able to travel from where they are, from where they're quarantined, to anywhere apart from a supermarket or a hospital. So there's literally hundreds of people trapped at Lima Airport at the moment because Lima Airport, I mean, Lima, Peru has closed all its borders and they've actually closed it. They've grounded all the flights. You know, in Western countries, they've stopped the flights, they've stopped air travel, closed the borders. Like in Australia here, I think in Canada and other places as well, they're saying that if you're not an Australian, you can't enter the country. So they're still allowing people to come in, but you've got to be, you know, belonging to that country. You've got to be goods and chattels of that country. It's kind of like they're doing a stock take here, folks, you know. They want everybody in their respective shelves because they want to run the stock take operation, you know. But in Peru, the flights are grounded. No planes are leaving. All the borders are closed. No flights are coming in. No flights are leaving because they are terrified that this virus may get into the Amazon. The Shipibo, all the people in the Amazon are absolutely freaking out from the reports that I'm hearing. Most of the people in South America are very freaked out about this. People in Venezuela, people in Colombia, because they know that the West doesn't care about them. And, you know, even if a vaccine was developed, you know, all this sort of stuff, you know, they're kind of going with the propaganda. And they know that even if it is developed, it won't be coming to them. But the thing is, there's no need for a vaccine, folks, because has been shown by people, you can actually kill this virus using a hairdryer. All you need is hot air going into your sinuses and you'll kill the virus. And there's been some really good reports put out about it. A lot of people are getting onto the whole idea that this is a hoax, folks. There was actually a good report put out by a friend of mine who's, I believe, in Denmark at the moment, called Steve Falconer. He's got a YouTube channel or a BitChute channel called Space Busters. And he put out a video called, I think it's called Part 2 Corona Kung Fu, something like that. I'll put a link below. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, it probably exists on YouTube somewhere as well, but I'm not sure. You know, YouTube purges so much stuff, it's hard to know what's there and what isn't there. But I'll put links to all this sort of stuff below. And I recommend you look at it. And he'd know a lot about what's going on as well, because in Denmark, they've actually introduced mandatory vaccinations. They want to vaccinate all of Denmark for this terrible coronavirus. And they've got that going on right now, I believe, and he lives there. Good morning. And so, and what they're doing, I believe, also in Denmark, the way they're doing it, folks, is it's with a tattoo. If you have been vaccinated, you get a tattoo. Apparently it's an invisible tattoo, but it's something that will show up under a light or under a scanner or something like that. So are you getting that, folks? Once you receive the vaccination, then you receive the mark to say that you've got the vaccination. Mark of the beast, folks. Because without that mark, you won't be able to travel. You won't be able to purchase airline tickets. Even if you'll be able to purchase the tickets, but when you go through the electronic scanners, this is why they've got people used to going through the scanners and holding their arms up and all that sort of stuff as they go in, because you're going to have a mark on your arm or on your hand. They're going to want to read through the scanner in order to allow you onto the plane. And if you haven't got the mark, then you will not be able to travel on a plane. You won't be able to board public transport. There'll be people, there'll be scanners eventually at supermarkets and shopping centres and government buildings where you will have to scan your tattoo in order to walk into the store. You know, by then it'll all be digital currency and all that sort of stuff. They're really pushing the whole concept that cash is dirty as well. So, you know, this is happening in Holland, it's happening in Denmark. We're seeing it pushed here. I went to the garage yesterday to fill the car up with gas, and they had a little spray bottle at the start of at the entrance to the garage saying, please disinfect before handing cash over. They want you to wash your hands with a disinfectant they've got there at the entrance to the garage. So a lot of people are really buying into this, folks. Panic buying. I went to the butcher shop yesterday and they had nothing there. It was classic. I was just walking past and there they were. No meat in the butcher store. Everyone's been buying everything out. The supermarket shelves are being depleted every day. As I said, the government is not allowing the food trucks to run.
To ease pressure, there are calls to lift government restrictions that limit delivery times.
We need all of the shelves filled every single night, and the best way to do that is to allow the trucks to deliver 24/7.
So, you know, so much of this is media driven. You know, and when you've got all these celebrities coming online saying, I've got it, you know, you had people from Game of Thrones saying, I've got it, you know, Tom Hanks saying, I've got it, Justin Trudeau saying, I've got it. All these people, I mean, it's so media driven, folks. You can see it. It really is. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Beautiful day.
Yeah.
So it's so media driven. And, you know, that's something to really pay attention to with all of this, folks. You wouldn't have all of these people coming out and saying all this stuff. You wouldn't have all of these things happening if this was a real pandemic. I mean, you know, there's so many ways you would see a real pandemic unfold, and this isn't any of them. And think about China, folks. There's like, how many billions of people? There's like over 1 billion people in China, and they had X amount of infection. It wasn't really a lot of infection, you know. So, you know, not even 4,000 people dead. 81,000 people infected and 4,000 people dead. Like, that's right around the world or something. You know, and everybody that you look at, like 99% of the people who died from coronavirus, you'll find 99% of them had underlying illnesses. So it wasn't really coronavirus, you know. They had all these underlying illnesses and they got a bad flu while it happened and then they died. And so they blamed the flu. You know, it's crazy stuff. It's really, really crazy. But that's what they're doing. But in China, I mean, if this was a rampant pandemic, you would find a lot more people infected. They've got so many people there. It's not very good health conditions in China. A lot of dirty places, a lot of polluted places. If this was a real pandemic, it would have been rampant. But it's not. It's pretty well business back to normal in China. Pretty well business as usual now. All the cases that we're hearing about have dropped. It's almost like China punked the whole world. And like they staged it and pretended they had a pandemic there. Now they're snapping up stocks and shares everywhere as all the global currencies are falling. Everybody's economy is crashing. Who do you think's buying up all the shares, folks? It's China. So You know, there's a lot more to this than people think. And like I said, folks, it's important to pay attention. It's important to keep focused to it and realise that you're being played. This whole thing is a hoax. It's an absolute hoax. There's no indication that the amount of people we're being told are dying are even dying. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there are a significant amount of deaths in Italy, some of the reports I'm hearing, but I can't be sure of how many of them are true even. I mean, you know, I've got friends on the ground in Italy who are telling me that there's, you know, it's all on lockdown and there's police everywhere, but they don't know anybody who's died. I've got friends in Spain as well. They say Spain's on lockdown, Ecuador's on lockdown, Peru's on lockdown. Denmark, they want to bring in these mandatory vaccinations and the tattoo. You know, so when you tie all this in with social crediting, folks, like I said before, coronavirus checks all the boxes. And I do recommend you watch that Corona Kung Fu Part 2 that I'll have linked below by Steve Falcon. It really does a really good job of breaking it all down, even through the gematria of the whole thing and everything. But yeah, that's about all I really wanted to bring you today, folks. A lot of birds here. It's a beautiful place. I'll look forward to speaking to you again soon. I'll bring you another report soon. Please take very good care until then. And thank you to all the people who've been continuously sending me so much information, and to all the people who send me so many kind emails, and to all the people who support me on Patreon. I couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much for listening to this. Enjoy your day. In luck, Cash.